Adventurous kids explore with education and learning what a wildlife is in the Everglades. I want to explore the Museum of Discovering Science. What plants do butterflies like? I want to know about Key West. Adventurous kids, learning and fun. Adventurous kids!
So everyone, this is a tropical house gecko, but they are not native here in Florida. They are actually native to sub-Saharan Africa and the island of Madagascar. It is currently found in North, Central, and South America and the Caribbean, where it has been accidentally introduced by people. Geckos have sticky pads on their toes. Geckos can stick to surfaces such as glass because their bulbous toes are covered in hundreds of tiny microscopic hairs called setae. Geckos are able to stick to smooth surfaces such as glass and plastic, which can be a bit harder. Each seta splits off into hundreds or even smaller bristles called spirilleae. The tufts of tiny hairs get so close to the contours and walls of links that the van der Waals force kicks in. This type of physical bond happens when the electrons from the gecko hair molecules and electrons from the wall molecules interact with each other and create an electromagnetic reaction. The system makes it possible for geckos to stick and unstick their feet so quickly that they can scurry across surfaces of 20 body lengths per second. I'm going to be like Coyote Peterson again. I'm about to enter the bite zone with the tropical house gecko. This is the baby, so let's see what happens. Ooh, even the baby's a little chomper. Doesn't hurt as much as an adult though. Ooh, it got my hair. And that hurts. That hurts. Yeah, that's how it can really do. It's a baby tropical house gecko. I was originally intended to cast an adult one, but this is a cute guy.
The tropical house gecko can attain a maximum length from snout to vent of 5 inches, being nocturnal. It has very large eyes, which are useful in spotting prey in low light conditions. It can change color slowly from light brown to a darker brown to better match its surroundings. The tropical house gecko is from sub-Saharan Africa and Madagascar, and hitching rides to the New World aboard slave ships from West Africa. The tropical house gecko's diet is varied and includes animals such as spiders, scorpions, cockroaches, moths, anoles, and other geckos, with the most important element being the Boptura species. As with many gecko species, the tropical house gecko has the ability to vocalize. Vocalizations range from quiet peeps to rapid, short, squeaking sounds. They may be heard most easily on a quiet night when they are sitting near an open window. The tropical house gecko can be found predominantly in urban locations. In some Caribbean cultures, it is considered good luck to have a tropical house gecko residing in your home. And certainly, they do eat a lot of household insect pests. However, the feces of the tropical house gecko are approximately 0.20 inches long, 0.079 inches wide, and dark brown, almost black in color. The gecko will usually confine its feces to one area of a home. But if that area happens to be a pale colored carpet, drapes, or any other easily stained surface, the stains are not easily removed, and the droppings have to be physically scooped up as well. The Madagascar giant day gecko is a diurna, arboreal species of day gecko. This lizard reaches a total length of 12 inches. The body color is bright green or rarely bluish green. A red stripe extends from the nostril to the back they are typically red-colored dots or bars. These red markings are quite variable, in some cases completely absent. The little line extending from the nostril to the eye is always present. These specimens may have small blue spots. Adult specimens may have large sacs on their necks. These are stored calcium sacs. Hey boy! Madagascar giant day gecko is widely distributed in northern and northwest Madagascar. There are a few recorded populations of this species also in Florida and Hawaii. It was introduced to Reunion Island in the mid-1990s and can be found in Mauritius, mainly in Floreal and in the upper plain Wilhelms. Madagascar giant day gecko males can be quite quarrelsome and territorial and will not accept other males in the neighborhood. They only allow females to enter their territory in captivity, where the females cannot escape. The males can also sometimes seriously wound a female. In this case, the male and female must be separated. Breeding behavior includes the shaking of the tail or body, vocalizing, and if the female does not accept the male, she may turn a darker green. The day geckos may move slowly, but when they are startled, they can move very fast. They are known for being very good at escaping their enclosures. Giant day geckos have no eyelids to keep their eyes clean. They often lick them. Madagascar giant day gecko breeding season is between December and June. During this period, females can lay multiple pairs of eggs. The young will hatch after approximately 48 to 80 days, depending on temperature. The Tokay Gecko is a crepuscular arboreal gecko. This species occurs in northeast India, Nepal, and Bangladesh, throughout Southeast Asia, including the Philippines and Indonesia, and to western New Guinea. Its native habitat is rainforest, where it lives on trees and cliffs, and it does also frequently adapts to rural human habitations, roaming walls and ceilings at night in search of insect prey. This is an introduced species in some areas outside. Its native range, it is established in Florida and the United States, on the islands of Belize and possibly Hawaii. Increasing urbanization is reducing its range. The Tokay Gecko is a large gecko reaching a total length, including the tail, of up to 12 inches. It is cylindrical, somewhat flattened in body shape. The eyes have vertical pupils. The skin is soft to the touch and is generally gray with red speckles. The animal can change the color of its skin to blend into the environment. The male Tokay Gecko's mating call, a loud croak, is variously described as sounding like token get to or puke, from which both the common and the scientific name. When threatened or alarmed, both the male and the female Tokay Gecko will make a short bark while opening its mouth in defensive posture. The Leopard gecko is a medium-sized gecko, which the native habitat of the common leopard gecko is the rocky, dry grassland and desert regions of South Asian, Afghanistan, Pakistan, northwest India, and some parts of Iran. Winter temperatures in these areas can be quite low, below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, forcing the animals underground into semi-hibernation, called brumation. Living on its fat reserves, it has movable eyelids. They have 100 teeth, which are replaced every 3 months, Leopard geckos mostly eat superworms, crickets, roaches, mealworms, spiders, and dubia roaches. They do not feed on dead animals. The breeding season occurs in summer. The female leopard gecko lays 12 to 16 eggs at one time. Unlike most geckos, all species in the genus with ferrous possesses movable eyelids and cannot climb up smooth surfaces, considering they do not have toe pads like most geckos. It has become a well-established pet in many places. Hatchlings are on average 2.8 to 3.9 inches in length and weigh about 2 to 5 grams. Adult females are about 7.1 to 7.9 inches in length and weigh about 50 to 70 grams, while adult male geckos are about 7.9 to 11 inches in length and weigh about 60 to 80 grams. Common leopard geckos are not immune to injury, and their tails often take the brunt. Common leopard geckos are one of the most popular lizard pets. They are possibly the first domesticated lizard species. Their small size, robustness, and relatively easy care makes them a good beginner reptile pet. They breed easily in captivity, so most sold today are captive bred rather than wild caught. They are well kept as pets, classified as a trait of its gentle nature. Rarely bite. When it bites, these painless leopard geckos should be fed with insects such as crickets and mealworms because they are insectivores in the wild. If a severe injury occurs to a common leopard gecko's tail, it will shrunk until the injured part is shed off. For pet leopard geckos, if injury necessitates an amputation of the tail, it will also shrink. If you hold a leopard gecko by its tail, then they will drop it too. Amazing! The African fat-tailed gecko is a crepuscular, ground-dwelling gecko. The African fat-tailed gecko is found in West Africa. From Senegal to Cameroon, their habitat is dry and arid, although they will spend most of their time in a dark, human hiding place in captivity. It is important to provide these geckos with a source of humidity that mimics these conditions. The African fat-tailed gecko is typically around 7 to 9 inches, with females being slightly smaller than males. They have a captive lifespan of 10 to 25 years. Wow! Normal coloring is brown and tan or beige stripes with a possible thin white stripe along the length of the back. The underbelly is pale pink or off-white. The African fat-tailed gecko is equipped with the ability to lose its tail when threatened or attacked. If the tail is lost, the new tail will have a more rounded shape similar to the head. It may not match the body, coloration, and pattern of the gecko. The tail is also where they store their fat and important energy reserve. With its tail, an African fat-tailed gecko can go days on and without food. African fat-tailed geckos have a primarily insectivorous diet. Mealworms, crickets, roaches, and other small insects are commonly feasted upon by African fat-tailed geckos. African fat-tailed geckos will not eat dead prey and will only eat live insects. It is recommended to feed them with gut-loaded insects no bigger than the space between their eyes, and to feed adults at least 3 to 4 times a week. Babies should be fed almost daily, while hornworms and pinky mice seem to be a popular feeder, it is not recommended to use them as even large geckos can choke on them. In the pet trade, the African fat-tailed gecko has gained some popularity, though is still not as popular as the closely related leopard gecko. Unlike the leopard gecko, these geckos tend to be more docile, but do have a higher humidity requirement. The gold dust day gecko is a diurnal species of gecko. It lives in northern Madagascar and on the island of Comoros. It has also been introduced to Hawaii and other Pacific islands. It typically inhabits various kinds of trees and houses. The gold dust day gecko feeds on insects and nectar. It is commonly known as the mascot of Geico, which is an American auto insurance company with headquarters in Maryland. This lizard belongs to the solid-day geckos and can reach a total length of about 6 to 9 inches. The body color is a bright green or yellowish green, or rarely blue. Typical for this day gecko are the yellow speckles on the neck and the upper back. There are 3 rust-colored transverse bars on the snout and head. The upper part of the skin around the eye is blue. On the lower back, there are 3 tapering red bars. The tail is slightly flattened. The underside is off-white. Juveniles lack the red colorations, and the tail and limbs appear off-white. These day geckos feed on various insects and other invertebrates, and are also capable of eating other smaller lizards. They also eat soft sweet fruit and pollen and nectar from flowers, often congregating in groups of many individuals to feed off of one plant. Males of this species are rather aggressive and can be quite quarrelsome. They do not accept other males in their territory in captivity, where the females cannot escape the males. May also seriously wound the female. The females lay up to 10 eggs at a temperature of 28 degrees Celsius. The young will hatch after approximately 40 to 45 days. Juveniles measure 55 to 60 millimeters. They should be kept separately, since the juveniles can be quite quarrelsome and sexual maturity is reached after 10 to 12 months. New Caledonian giant gecko, or Leach's giant gecko, is the largest species of gecko in the world. Species which was first described by Georges Cuvier in 1829 is endemic to New Caledonia at 14 inches total length, including the tail. The New Caledonian giant gecko is the largest gecko in the world and is considered an example of island gigantism. It has a heavy body and a small, lumpy tail. It is variable in color, coming in shades of mottled green, gray, and brown. Some of the indigenous people of New Caledonia here Leach's giant gecko. This is because of an old superstition which purports that it has the ability to cling to a person's body and pull out that person's soul. Populations of the New Caledonian giant gecko have likely been reduced by habitat destruction and degradation. This process is still a threat to the species. It also faces predation by introduced species such as cats and various rodents. It is also poached. Oh no! It can be electrocuted when it travels along power lines. This species is protected and it lives in several nature reserves. The Jaragua sparrow, or the Jaragua dwarf gecko, is the smallest species of gecko in the world. The Jaragua sparrow measures 0.63 to 0.71 inches from the snout to the base of the tail and can fit on a U.S. quarter. Geographic range of the Jaragua dwarf gecko is believed to be limited to Jaragua National Park in the extreme southwest of the Dominican Republic and nearby forested island, and in Puerto Rico. The Jaragua sparrow's nominal name was chosen in honor of herpetologist Von Arias, leader of the Dominican Conservation Organization Grupo Jaragua, which was instrumental in securing the environmental protection of Jaragua National Park. Here are some interesting gecko facts. There are more 1,000 different species of geckos. They are divided into two main groups: geckos with eyelids that can blink like people and geckos without eyelids that cannot blink. Geckos are usually very small, shorter than 1 foot long. That's shorter than a ruler. Since geckos are cold-blooded animals, they need to live in warm places so they can stay warm. They live on every continent in the world except Antarctica. Geckos can live in lots of different habitats, including forests, deserts, and grasslands. Geckos use camouflage to blend in with leaves, branches, and rocks. Camouflage is a way animals disguise themselves by blending in with their surroundings. Gecko tails serve many purposes. They help balance their weight as they climb branches. They act as fuel tanks to store fat and as camouflage to help them disappear into their environment. Geckos are also able to shed their tails if a predator grabs them. Most geckos are nocturnal, which means they are active at night, but day geckos are active during the day and nibble on insects, fruits, and flower nectar. Most geckos make noises such as chirping, barking, and clicking when they are defending their territory or attracting a mate. Male geckos lay their eggs in leaves and bark. Most geckos don't have movable eyelids and instead have one transparent eyelid, which they keep clean by licking it with their tongues. Taking a bath is an interesting non-chore for geckos. Geckos have skin covered with hundreds of thousands of hair-like spines. These spines trap air and cause water to bounce off. When a gecko falls, it twists its tail to a right angle to enable it to land on its feet. This stunt takes 100 milliseconds. Oh my god! Flying geckos endemic to Southeast Asia is the only gecko species capable of flying, gliding through the air. It has webbed feet and tail and wide flap of skin which act as a parachute while a gecko jumps from one tree to another. Also, it does a swoop at the end of its glide to land softly. When the gecko leaps into the air, the flaps are used to generate lift and allow the gecko to control its fall. It can glide up to 200 feet. Gecko's skin does not generally bear scales, but appears at a markle scale as a papillose surface, which is made from hair-like protuberances developed across the entire body. Due to their small size, geckos are often preyed by snakes, birds, mammals, and some large spider species. Geckos have long lifespan. Leopard gecko can survive more than 20 years in captivity. Other species live between 8 and 10 years.
Now let's go release the tropical house gecko. I found it on the wall inside. So let's release it on one of the plants in my garden. Oh, I don't want it on the spine, no. There it goes.
Thank you for watching this episode of Adventurous Kids Band.
What did you learn today?
Adventurous Kid.
Adventurous Kids.
What was the most interesting fact?
Adventurous Kids.
Adventurous Kids.
Adventurous Kids.